Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the AmCham CSR committee. Very glad to have you here today. It's been 10 years since we started talking about CSR in Egypt, almost a decade that we started talking about CSR in Egypt. As a practitioner and a passionate of CSR, I always wonder, what have we achieved? 10 years down the road, we've been talking, we've been promoting, preaching, encouraging, educating. What has happened after 10 years exactly? I believe now is a very good time to ask these hard questions to ourselves as individuals and as a community of practitioners, actually. As individuals, what have we been able to achieve within our organization, and what have we been able to achieve as a community of practitioners for the practice and for the nation, if we dare say. So we were undergoing a lot of discussions within the committee on what is our role in this critical time in the life of Egypt. What is our role as a committee? Do we simply have some awareness meetings, bring in a company or two to talk about their activities, and do we continue that path of simply promoting and encouraging, or do we question everything that we are doing in the first place and ask ourselves what we are doing and try to redefine our role? And we decided to do it the other way, to really question what we are doing in the first place. And this is how the idea of cooperating with Ekne3ney came. So I'll leave it to the team, to Ahmed, Ezzat, and Ashraf Khatib to talk more about Ekne3ney. But came the idea of this debate that we are holding in cooperation with them to build on something that they started and initiated a practice of calm and reasonable debates around very controversial issues. So I won't talk more. I'll leave it to Ahmed, Ezzat now to present you with the debate and the speakers. You have your mic.
Okay, good morning. My name is Ahmed Ezzat, one of the founders of Ekne3ney Shokran initiative for debates. Ekne3ney convinced me. It's a comic name that people remember. Within the next 75 to 90 minutes, we're going to play a game together. This game is it's about all participating. Everyone will participate in the debate. Debates are important. Why do we do debates? To affect the public opinion and to alleviate our conventional wisdom. Issues like sukuk, issues like the IMF loan, the role of the government in production. These are all issues and many others that we have covered before, and just specifically economic issues that people feel distant from them, and someone else takes the decision on their economic, that affects them economically. Today we're going to cover a specific motion. The motion, I will repeat it and I will go on repeating it so that we don't stray away from the subject. CSR failed to deliver impact in Egypt. We're not talking about if CSR is good or bad. We're not talking about the law. We're not talking about organizations. We're talking about this specific statement. And we intend together to deep dive into it to try to benefit why if we agree or why if we disagree with the motion. And very quickly, in less than a minute, I want to go through the rules of the debate. It's about 5 phases. The first phase is that we gauge your opinions. We make 2 votes. The first vote is immediately after my colleague Ashraf, who's again one of the founders of the initiative. He presents the brief background about the topic. Each one of you has one of these cards. It has 2 sides. The red side, when you come to cast your vote, the red side in my direction, and Ashraf will be here, says you oppose. The white side says you agree. And on the white side, there is a number. This number, you please lift it whenever you want to ask a question. I will make the priorities based on first raised, first served. And when I call upon the number, please lift it again so that the gentleman who has the microphone can pass it on to you. We need to be very fast. The importance of debates is that we engage as many as possible. If we're spending the next hour together and we follow the rules of 30 seconds per question, 1 minute per answer, so we probably can cater for 35, which is very good. And that's the whole idea. So the first phase. The second phase is that the third phase is obviously we ask our panelists, the experts, who are on both sides of the aisle. And let me introduce them. For those who oppose the motion, and let me repeat the motion again, CSR failed to deliver impact in Egypt. So those who oppose this motion and don't agree that it failed to deliver impact, we'll start on my right is Khaled Hegazy, who is the External Affairs and Legal Director of Vodafone, and among his responsibilities is CSR and legal. And right next to him is Ayman Ismail, who is a Harvard Business School graduate, and he is the CEO of DMG and was with Pepsi before and with P&G, right? All right. And obviously, these 2 gentlemen are against this motion. And those who support on my left, let me start. The first is Hala Youssef, and she is formerly with CARE for a long time. And she was involved in a lot of experience in over 20 years in the corporate engagement. And on her left is Ingy, who is a Cairo-based consultant and has a clear position on the motion we're in. So immediately after you cast your vote, we're going to ask each one of them to give us 2 minutes to say why they are against or why do they support the motion. And based on that, we'll open the discussion for every one of you to ask a question or make an intervention or make an opinion. And there's going to be a counter. It can be very irritating when I stop you. Please forgive me. I will stop you if you exceed the time, because we need to give chances to others. Start being prepared right now with your questions so that we can very quickly go through the next hour or so, and we try all of us to benefit as much as possible from the amount of information that will come out of it. So I think at the end, we ask you to cast another vote, and we show how the public opinion in this hall has shifted. And as I said, it's a sort of a game of tug of war between those who are against the motion and those who support it. And those who win, like every game, there is a winner and there is a loser. Those who win is the team that shifts the public opinion in their direction. It doesn't matter if they have the majority. We've seen before, absolute majorities in opinion stay that way, but it's reduced. So that's the winner. The winner is, and you're going to see 2 graphs, two charts that shows how these teams manage to persuade you in their direction of opinion. So I think, Ashraf, are you ready with the... So it's Ashraf Khatib, my colleague of Ekne3ney Shokran, and he'll take over from now.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Ramiz Farag for helping out in preparing the orientation that we will go through it. So would we present it, please? the other PowerPoint. Okay. Has any one of us heard this statement before? Okay, sounds good. We want to help community, but business comes first. We need to focus on our business. It's not about CSR. Has anyone heard this statement in our work, in our community, from our bosses, from the CEO, and so on? So there is no single definition for CSR, but we depend on a Cairo pyramid, which composed of 4 pillars. The first one is economic responsibility. And this is the way how investment people think about what is the cause of a corporate is to make profits, is to maximize the financial returns to shareholders. Then, this was historically. Then this has been changed a bit to deliver value to stockholders. And value means that I have, as a corporate, to abide by legal responsibilities, to ensure going concern and so on. And then come the ethical responsibilities. And what is the difference between ethical responsibilities and legal responsibilities? We can find a multinational company, for example, for cement, which is based in Europe and abide by a carbon dioxide emission, for example, because laws and regulations over there are strict, but when they are playing or working in other countries, in Africa, for example, they might not be obliged to apply this legal framework. But their ethical responsibilities may push them to do something that they see right. So it is about what is right, what is fair, regardless of the legal framework. The fourth pillar is about philanthropic responsibilities, is to do good to the community, whether by donating some financial resources or donating the time of your employees and so on. So the stakeholders, the people who are engaged with corporate social responsibilities are everyone, are the government, are the employees of the company, are of course the citizens, are the suppliers, doing something good, something fair with everyone of the stakeholders, not just with the stockholders of the company. And this is the difference. So, do you think that Kosher Abu Tariq, do you think that Kosher Abu Tariq is perceived as doing corporate social responsibility? Do you think? Do you think that people perceive Abu Tariq as doing corporate social responsibility in comparison, for example, for a multinational company who donate money for people? Maybe Abu Tariq doing the economic pillar, maybe applying the laws and regulations, maybe do an extra mile for applying extra quality and so on, maybe more than what legal framework require him to do. So ethical framework may be there. But for example, philanthropic pillar might not be there. Abu Tariq doesn't donate money for people, for example. So he's not perceived, I think he's not perceived by many, and many examples, as providing corporate social responsibility. So it is about the definition of corporate social responsibility. And here is the definition. It includes the 4 pillars: to provide, to be ethical, to create wealth, and to comply with laws and regulations, and to balance the interest within all the diverse stakeholders. That's it. Corporate social responsibility around the world. You can find the gray area. The gray area is the least effective in corporate social responsibility, and it's clear that Middle East and Africa may be far from other countries in the world. That's it. And now I leave it again to Ahmed. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ashraf. Very quickly, you don't have to, when you want to ask a question, after you lift that and show me the number, you don't need to introduce yourself if you don't want to. So it's just, these kind of rules that make things quickly. Now we're going to start with the 2 minutes per each expert, and we're going to start in a very strange order. We'll start with one of the opposing and then one of the supporting. So it's going to be Khaled and then Hala, and then Ayman, and then Ingy, and after 1 hour, we do it in the reverse order. I'll be guiding them. So Khaled, please start, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me come here, and I thank you all for coming so early, especially those like me who come from the other side of town. I am here to talk not about corporate social responsibility. I'm here to talk about corporate responsibility. We don't call it corporate social responsibility anymore because we believe it has a lot more dimensions than just social. And the pyramid that Mr. Ashraf just showed is a very clear example of where it starts. When you're on a plane and you're getting the instructions from the health and safety, from the attendant, the flight attendant on what to do in case of a crash, the first thing they say is when the oxygen masks are coming down, you have to wear the mask first before you help others. And this is exactly what corporates should be doing. Our first role towards our first responsibility as a corporate is first to succeed in what we do and not to fail in what we do. Because if we don't deliver what our mission is, we will not be able to help ourselves and we will not be able to help others. Research has proven that companies who display strong adherence to corporate responsibility measures have a very positive impact on their brand equity, have a very positive impact on their share value, has a very positive impact even on their attractiveness to employees. So they get to, more applicants want to work at companies that are more responsible. And research has proven this in many countries. I'm very unlikely to be able to quote research in the coming 17 seconds. So I thank you all, and I'm looking forward for the debate.
Thank you, Khaled. And now it's Hala, please, 2 minutes.
Good morning. Over the past 10 years, I've had the pleasure to work with various companies, multinational and local companies in Egypt. And one thing that I have noticed while observing their CSR practices and plans is that we do not focus on the true causes of poverty. There are several causes for poverty. Some are immediate, which are usually caused by wars and disease. Others are intermediate, such as education, poor health services, and so on. But the real causes, the underlying causes of poverty are the ones that usually go unnoticed when we talk about corporate social responsibility. And the underlying causes of poverty usually focus on why there's poverty. And the answer usually will take us to the systems and the rules that govern a society. The reasons vary from one country to another, but most of the time they include discrimination based on race, religion, ethnic background, inequity in distribution, exclusion and the marginalization of certain groups such as Upper Egyptians or women or Copts, and poor governance and of course corruption. Most CSR work in Egypt is cosmetic and lacks a deeper meaning and lasting impact. We adopt a bandage approach. It's what I call the bandage approach when we concentrate on the intermediate causes of poverty, which only address the symptoms of poverty. We have to think about surgery, about the rights in order to improve human conditions in a sustainable fashion. When we talk about rights, we have to ask businesses if they are creating an enabling environment for the poor so their lives will get better. You did not give them a fish, you taught them how to fish. But are you willing to create an enabling environment for the community to where they will be empowered to hold you accountable for your role in polluting the stream where they are fishing? Thank you.
Thank you, on time. Ayman, your 2 minutes.
Sure, thank you, and thanks Hala for the... Thank you, and I'm glad I'm sitting on that debate. And, you know, if we're talking about can we improve CSR and can we improve the impact of CSR, then I would definitely agree. But if we say that CSR have failed to deliver an impact over the last few years, then I would definitely disagree, and I will let numbers speak for themselves. Just this morning, as I walked into the room, I walked into, you know, few of my colleagues here that have put a lot of time and effort into CSRs, and let me read their achievement. Microsoft created 600 jobs over the last 3 years, created 27 career center and entrepreneur, over 1 million digital literacy that they have created over the last few years. They spent over $5 million last year alone on corporate social responsibility. PepsiCo have helped in actually Egypt winning the Youth African Cup. 5 players of the Youth African Cup came from the PepsiCo school program. Not only this, actually through their performance with purpose, they have reduced use of water and power by 22% and 17% respectively. Now, as I have only 30 seconds, I will jump to PwC. PwC over the last few years have saved 22,434 lives by building the triple effect program, which is all about building trust into blood donation and giving and taking. Now, honestly, guys, saving one life for me would count as a major impact for the CSR program, let alone 22,434. And there are some others that I will mention throughout our presentation. Sorry for those that gave me some examples that I didn't mention.
Okay. Your 2 minutes, Ingy, thank you.
I will speak today from my position as a development practitioner, working as a consultant, assisting NGOs in delivering more impact, and also as an evaluator, assessing what impact have NGOs made. If our question today is whether CSR has delivered impact, when you go look at the CSR portals of companies, we see what we academically classify as humanitarian relief. In the rare cases where there is sustainable development initiatives and where it is the focus, one cannot see a clear theory of change. What are the phases and what is the sequence of a complex process such as change that would make people change the position of poverty they are in? Advising companies and foundations on projects to finance, I found that often than not, the cause relates to a personal connection to the person, which leads sometimes to unsustainability when the champion of the cause is gone. I also found that working in an NGO myself or through my clients, that NGOs wishing to fundraise for a model addressing the root causes of poverty and marginalization often fail to obtain desired funding because more often than not, CSR departments preferred simple models addressing problems that the audience of a PR campaign can identify with and which, needless to say, need to be quantified. When we are called in as evaluators to assess the impact of a certain project, we look beyond how many buildings were built, injections given, children taught. All these indicators are called monitoring and evaluation. The real indicators we seek are around the quality of education effort, how the gender relations are changing, whether the community has taken matters into their own hands, and whether people will continue to have the same quality of life after the project ends. Most importantly, will the entire system change after the project ends? Did the NGO change the entire system it's working in? Did it lobby the government to change laws? So that is the question we wish to also raise, the same for CSR. My mentors in the development sector said, I have to have a consistent behavior. If I'm working in this sector, then I have to purchase ethically produced and fair trade goods. If I pay someone for a service, I have to pay them fairly. And I think we all need to look within before starting.
Thank you. Ingy, now I will ask you to cast your vote on the motion. I'll repeat it again. CSR, in your view, in each one of you, your opinion, failed to deliver impact in Egypt, from what you know. So if you are against it, just give me 30 seconds with the red, and we'll start with the reds first, for those who oppose. So you can do that now, please. Just give me 30 seconds until they count. حضرتك الناحية الحمراء لو انت Okay. Ashraf? And now, دلوقتي finished Ashraf? Okay, now for those who agree with the motion, and let me repeat it again, CSR failed to deliver impact in Egypt, just raise your on the white side. All right, for the next hour, we're gonna get into this question and answer session, and just raise your number, and since I haven't gotten any questions yet, I will start by asking Ayman about impact, and Khaled as well. I've noticed Khaled talking about brand equity and shareholders' value increase, and that not affect the society. It impacts the investors. And for Ayman, he talked about $5 million for Microsoft. This is a minuscule number. So can you please comment on how can you consider that good impact for CSR?
I guess the question here
It's
I guess the question here is it about the amount of dollars being put or about the impact that those dollars are creating? And when I talk about helping Egypt win the Youth African Cup through having 5 key players from PepsiCo came through that program, that by itself an achievement that I would say, like MasterCard say, this is not worth the money. It's not about the money here. It's about the impact itself. When we're talking about 22,000 lives being saved through a program of PwC and PwC deploying their ability to create trust in any system, to create trust in something very, very crucial like blood donation, that's a huge impact. So, I wouldn't pick on whatever number. I use the number for Microsoft because that's
important to mention that panelists have their wild card. They can ask for a question to their opponents anytime. You just have to tell me. And okay, I have number 7, please. Keep it raised. Okay, number 7. Just tell me.
Noha Korayem from the American University in Cairo, the Director of Development. I would like to ask how much of the budget of each company's budget would CSR constitute, because this reflects how important it is to the company itself. From what I see is that CSR really budget constitutes very minimal of any company's budget, and it's usually under a marketing department or it's falling under the HR department, which still, yeah.
Could you please tell me, to whom do you direct your question?
I would like to direct it to Ayman and Khaled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me start by saying that it's not only creating value to the investors. What I meant with the complete vision of corporate responsibility, the part about ethical business practices, the part about dealing only with suppliers who who are not involved in any unethical practices, and it's a whole bigger vision. But let me just pose a question here. We are trying to solve issues in the gray areas on the map. We are trying to solve issues where governments have failed to solve. So this is why you can't see the impact. Imagine if as Vodafone, I am relying on NGOs to provide the services of the mobile company. Imagine if I'm relying on the civil society to build sites and sell tariff plans. It cannot work. We are doing CSR as an additional part to our responsibility. It's not our core business. We are not here as NGOs. Fine.
All right, thank you. Okay, let me ask a question to Hala. Hala, you mentioned bandage approach. So what's wrong with bandage? Sometimes when a country needs so much need, a bandage will close a cut, will close an injury.
Okay, well, first I would like to just draw your attention that Khaled did not answer the question of what is the percentage of the budget that is allocated to CSR. And to answer your question, a bandage approach will help if you have a minor cut. But imagine a country like ours that is completely covered in bandages. If we don't look seriously at the causes of the cut and how deep it is getting, it's going to be infected and it will be widespread and it will affect the whole country. That's why we have to be courageous. We have to do the surgery. We cannot just keep bandaging right and left wherever we go.
All right, thank you. 113 here in. Could ترفعها please? Can you please?
Amr Qais. Just I would like to address the question to Hala and Ingy. As long as you agree to the statement that CSR failed, do you associate this failure to the practices and approaches of corporations and companies, or for the environment? And of course, I'm addressing this question in the occasion of passing the law, the new law of NGOs, where I didn't see any feedback coming from CSR practitioners, whether from the corporate side or NGOs.
Yep.
I think that we're saying it failed because we don't say it failed, it can go much better. The question is, why aren't companies focusing on their core business? If everyone does their core business in a socially responsible way, maybe we won't need CSR.
I do agree with Khaled that especially the government, the companies are not required and they're not looked at to replace the role of the government. However, we are here today to talk about the corporate responsibility, and the corporate responsibility should go beyond just looking at the photo opportunity of building a school and doing that. Because if we look at, like I said, I know we'll continue saying the underlying causes of poverty that go with corruption, discrimination, and so on, those are not very photogenic causes at all, but they are really needed if we want to alleviate poverty, if we want to move from being a third or developing country onto better places.
Okay, thank you. Number 29 at the back on the right. Number 29. Please tell us, to whom do you direct your question, so it becomes clear.
Actually, it's to both parties. I'm Marwan Farid from DMG. I need to know where are we heading to with the CSR. It's much more of an advice coming from both sides, where we should invest as Egypt, and in which industry and in which sector. That's from one side. And why not there is no consortiums, the companies within the IT or the telecommunication are putting hand in hand to really address problems.
We'll ask you to nominate someone, or both of you if you want to a quick answer.
I first would like to answer the question on the budget, because I think this is going to continue to be in the room for a while, okay? A corporate social responsibility, as you all have seen in this presentation, is defined first by, the economic factor of the company. I would actually call a company that overspends on corporate social responsibility to an extent that it affects its own profit a corporate irresponsibility, because the main purpose of a company is to generate profit and to create jobs and to keep jobs, and that's the main foundation of corporate social responsibility. So actually, it starts there. Once they have that amount of money, once they have that profit, they need to start to interact with all the other, or with the two circles. So you have an economical circle, you have a social circle, and you have an environment circle. But without the economical circle, the whole thing would fall apart. Corporate social responsibility are coming from corporate, not from NGOs. And we have to be very clear about the difference between an NGO and a corporation. Sorry.
You want to say something? Already your side. Okay, yeah, okay, please. Any one of you.
Again, if you're talking about economic opportunities, maybe some of the activities of certain companies, I'm not talking of specific company in general, are decreasing economic opportunities for small and micro enterprises. are polluting the fishing stream, which Hala said as a metaphor, but it actually happened.
I agree. Can we talk or? Sure. I agree. However, the corporate social responsibility for me, the simple definition for it, it's basically the conscience of a corporation. It's actually the thing that allowed a corporation to do the harder right than the easy wrong. So if we're talking about that, that's the basic. It's not about the budget. It's not about how much they have spent money. It's about how much they've created economical added value without impacting the society negatively. And this is how you assess the corporate social responsibility in my view.
So it's around the intent.
No, it's not about the intent. It's actually about the action.
But actions should be quantified, legalized.
Exactly, and that's actually, I believe, where corporate social responsibility should be heading. Because if you look at corporate governance, for example, and you go back 20 years, you would find that there was no rules for corporate governors. Today, there are rules for corporate governors, and they're monitored very well. I believe this is the next generation for corporate social responsibility, that companies should publish their corporate social responsibility intent and actions. And it has to deal with those three circles. It's not about only donation and money spent. And that's the misinterpretation of corporate social responsibility. It's about doing business without affecting the environment. It's about doing business with impacting the social positively, not negatively.
So you would willingly, with a group of leaders in the sector, abide by certain measures?
Of course.
A minimum of funds that should be directed internally to internal governance and to CSR?
You see, you're going back to the budget point, which is a minimum of number of money. That's not the point.
Allow me to interrupt.
Can I ask a question?
I have to just move on because I have so many questions from the floor. Please, let me just reiterate. We don't want to stray away from the motion. The motion is CSR fit to deliver impact in Egypt. We're not talking about the philosophy of CSR or how can it invest in the future. This is just two big issues, or the subjects become too big for us to handle in an hour. So I would like to move to 267. 267.
I'm Ayman Shahata from Pricewaterhouse. I wouldn't attack you, Ayman, for sure. My first comment to the ladies, when it comes to the budget issue, I think I would agree a little bit with Ayman. It is not about the intent, it's about the impact. Then we need to, instead of having a debate about the budget, we need to have a debate about the return on investment, the social return on investment. And this would be a great measure, something to measure with the Ingy about the real impact.
What is social return on investment? I mean, this is a term that we've been using and also abusing in the NGO sector. As long as there are no clear impact measurement tools, I don't think we can talk on social return on investment. Social return on investment also is not employed in this specific sector in CSR. It's employed when you're financing an organization that has more of a hybrid structure, balancing profit and social impact, and you're investing in it. So I'm not sure we can talk about social return on investment in this specific context, which might lead me to talk a little bit about hybrid models. There are actually, in many parts of the world, companies that willingly, from the start, said we're going to balance profit and social impact and define themselves as a hybrid structure under many names: social business, social enterprise, employing terms such as triple bottom line. And these companies do not feel that they are compelled to do cosmetics, like Hala was saying.
Ayman, there's one comment I would like to address to you. I completely agree with you that companies have to focus on internal. They have to focus on their profit. However, what is your role towards the community around you? I'll give you a very simple example. If we go 120 kilometers east of Cairo to CSR, we know all of the businesses that are in CSR, and they're all huge. What are they giving to the community? You say you're employing 600 employees. That is great, but you are selecting the best. You are selecting the cream of the crop, so they increase your profit. And Ain Sokhna, not a single Bedouin in that area is hired by any of the factories that are there. There's not a single hospital to cater to the poor in Ain Sokhna. So all of the factories and all of the companies are basically looking at their self-interest, which is fine because you are a business. But let's reflect also outside the community around us. How can we alleviate? Because if we alleviate poverty, that will help your business as well.
All right, number 132, please raise your card. 132. Oh, قدامي هنا.
Okay, just a question. Do you think, the ladies, do you think CSR failed to deliver its impact because the companies are not willing, or because they did not have the environment that allows them, and that the NGOs has not done the required work for them to better direct companies?
It's the same question that came up, and maybe it was not answered. You are right. There are a lot of factors on why we believe CSR failed in Egypt. Mainly because, like you said, the enabling environment for companies, the NGOs are not, they're not strong enough, and the government is not doing its part. So to create that utopian and that strong teamwork, we all have to work together. We have to forget our differences. We have to forget competitiveness. I mean, I would like to see Pepsi Cola and Coca-Cola working together to address one of the sectors that Ayman, the gentleman back there, was talking about. We're not doing that. We are in a tunnel vision. We are thinking of, this is what we're going to do. We are going to put our name on it, and it will be our project, and that's what will happen. We need to work together to address the real causes of poverty if we really want to do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I can add one point.
Please.
Where CSR has worked is where you have a mature citizen sector. I think we're not there yet, but we're heading in this direction where not only NGOs, not only the government, but each citizen chooses very carefully which plans to support and looking beyond the campaigns. And I think this is somewhere we're heading there. Talking about NGOs and implementation, maybe sometimes who are the NGO partners chosen? Are they usually NGOs that have a very strong ideology and methodology and have their own way of work, or are you hiring implementers? That also makes a very big difference from how the projects are implemented.
The lady 131, right in front on the left.
Thank you. My name is Dora Fiani. I'm chairing a recently created NGO by the name of Knowledge Economy Foundation. I have two questions, but I'll start with the first one.
To whom are you directing the question?
Well, to Hala and Khaled. The real issue from my view is that civil society is not yet recognized as a full partner in the society. Civil society being represented by the NGOs. And the result is that each company...
Go for the second question.
Well, it wasn't a question. It was a comment. The first question is that large corporate should help and build up an advocacy towards donors to get donors to have some funds directly to the NGOs and not only to government with the poor results we've been seeing over the past 30 years in terms of development. But I still have another question, maybe later.
We'll give you another 30 seconds to just clarify on the question. Apparently the subject is bigger than the, yeah, please go ahead.
Yes. Well, it's really a suggestion that what we have seen in terms of development and addressing the needs of the poor in Egypt have been primarily the case of government and mainly donors, World Bank, you name it, giving, because by law their counterpart is the government, so all the funds go to the government. And we know the results of government practice over the past 30 years in Egypt. And therefore the issue is civil society needs to be brought in, which is not the case as of now.
Yep. Anyone ready for a comment? So are you suggesting that corporations pay only to the government and they cannot pay out to this?
No, what I'm saying is that
But is this what happening? Is this what you're criticizing?
What's happening is that the 95% of donors programs coming to Egypt from the multiple donors we have go directly to government, and the government is their counterpart in the respective technical ministries. The results are appalling, as we all know. The donors themselves are complaining that they are handcuffed and they can't do anything about it. And the real issue is that large corporate should help in advocating a larger share to civil society in the whole society operations and structure. And in that way, we can have a more holistic approach and not the bandage Hala was talking about, because up until civil society, represented by the NGOs, is recognized as a full-fledged partner of the corporate and of the donors, we will continue to have piecemeal menu bandage.
I think you would agree.
Okay. Well, I completely agree with you, but I'm not sure that the corporate sector can actually play a role in convincing donors to channel the funds to the private sector, to the NGO sector. But however, I want to pick up on your advocacy, because this is something that I would request that the private sector would focus on. Advocacy on many levels. Advocacy not just about funding, but also advocacy for better lives, for better laws, for implementing those laws indiscriminately. And let's look at advocacy, let's look at rights, let's look beyond just the intermediate causes. Let's look beyond building the school or the hospital and so on.
All right, please let me move to 83, question 83. Gentlemen, please hold up your card so that, yeah, okay.
My name is Ahmed Nagib. I represent CSR at FIMBI. Do you believe in this is for the gentleman, do you believe in the current situation Egypt is facing with challenges such as the flight of foreign direct investors and investments, national even investors are leaving, security challenges, currency challenges, instability, transparency or lack of it, and lack of accountability, lack of social justice? Doesn't all of this increase the risk, hence cost of doing business in the country? So working on challenges and contributing to needed change would create more profit. And I personally believe that a national agenda set by all stakeholders is what we need.
So who are you directing the question?
The gentleman.
Thank you, that's a great question. I just want to say to Hala that I fully agree with her, and I think it would be extremely dangerous that anyone would see us as defending companies that has some corruption issues and has some damaging to the environment issues. I think that that's something that none of us will defend at all. However, I think even under those circumstances, I believe CSR should continue to be a core of all the companies. And in fact, I think it should move from an advertised, used for media turned it into the DNA of the company. The only way that the CSR will survive is when it's not the CEO or the chairman pet project. It's when it's pushed down to every single employee. In our company, for example, we have a target for number of volunteering day, just to educate people on the importance of volunteering. And actually, it pays result as well. Now, last thing that I would say, that despite all those challenges, if you walk away from the CSR, or if you walk away from that program, it means that you don't have a deep belief of the impact, of the long-term impact and sustainability of that program. So no, actually the opposite, you have to stay the course.
All right, thank you. On 133, please raise your card.
Honestly, I sadly believe CSR failed to deliver impact in Egypt. We are still today talking about what is the contribution of companies to the community, while I would have dreamed 10 years down the road to be talking about how we companies are making profit and what is our way of collecting money, not how much we are spending. The very fact that we're still talking about how much we're contributing to the community is, in my point of view, a failure of the awareness.
All right. Number 18 or 71? It depends how you. Okay. All right.
My question is for Ingy and Hala. You focused your argument too much on corporate philanthropy, which you're spot on in scrutinizing some of the things we do, and I totally agree with you on that. But how about other parts of corporate responsibility that you haven't shared your views on? For example, the investments that companies pour into disposing safely of their waste. How about when companies use their own technology and their own core business expertise to develop products and services that have a social impact? How about investments in occupational health? So these parts of corporate responsibility have been downplayed, and I believe that's why you're giving a very harsh assessment of this CR. Thank you.
Thank you for raising this question. Actually, that's what I referred to when I was talking about hybrid models, is that you, for instance, are a telecom company. Why not give lines of, like phone lines, to small producers who wouldn't be able to access? Why not set up a communication between farmers and the market? We understand, we're very aware, I'm an economist, I'm very aware that it is increasing costs. If I'm hiring people who are marginalized, it requires a higher cost for psychological assistance, for training, to get them to the labor market. But yeah, the thing is, I believe we don't have enough documentations. There are examples here and there of companies integrating into their core business what they do for the community, and hence are much more sustainable than just philanthropic CSR, but we need to see them. And I think we are doing an effort to document those cases.
Yeah, thank you. It's like what I read, the corporation should do right through what it does best. And it doesn't go out and do stuff that has no clue. I like that. I read it a few years ago.
Okay, first, I thought I saw a little bit of light when Hala said she's convinced that it can be better, that we did not fail. So I thought this was progress. But let me pose this question to all the corporates in the audience. How many times were you approached by an NGO and you felt that they are talking a different language? How many times did you get a proposal from an NGO for a grant or a fund or anything that you thought, I really don't understand the terminology, I really don't understand, why don't they speak my language? Why don't they speak the corporate language in order to succeed to get the funds from me? 2 quick points on the lovely topic of budgets. Vodafone has spent close to £250 million over the past 14 years on CSR projects. So we do dedicate a large portion of the profit, but if we give up all of our revenue, not just our profit, for one single cause in this country, it will not solve the cause. And one last comment on the bandage. If a little boy falls off his bike and injures his knee, he needs a bandage. He does not need an analysis on the relationship between his father and mother and why he's on the bike unattended. So a bandage is needed. Thank you.
Okay, number 7 or 8. 7 or 8. Number 7 or 8. في الآخر 8. It's 8 now. It was 7. Okay. All right. Yes.
Okay, it's Ahmed Mazhar. I want to ask the ladies a question. Definitely, as long as there are negative things, definitely about CSR, as you mentioned, I'd like to challenge you mentioning 3 positive outputs that have happened in Egypt and for the cause of CSR. And I would like the gentlemen as well to comment on these positive outputs and how they can capitalize on them. Thank you very much.
I think we're both going to do this jointly, hopefully in 1 minute. For me, what I see is there is a lot of awareness and there is a lot of desire on the corporate sector to get engaged. They're not turning a blind eye anymore. So we've come a long ways in the last 10 years, and this should be acknowledged and appreciated.
Number 171, please. Oh, sorry.
For me, the three examples would be علشاني كبلدي and Vodafone. For instance, that's a model I'm really fond of, whereby the NGO asked the company what form of like training they need for their future employees, and the company told the NGO and partner to implement this program. And that's, for instance, a very successful model where it responded to one of the very root causes of people being marginalized from the labor market. Another one would be Dar al-Uyun, and I think some people in the audience have attended a conversation around that, where this hospital, eye surgery was offered. Should I continue? Eye surgery was offered to poor patients at the same quality, but using a different model that saves on costs and utilizing the same infrastructure. A third model would be a shoe factory I saw in Dar es Salaam a few years ago, which offers generous pensions, keeps people in the factory, works through a home-based production model, employing women, thus not marginalizing them, and sourcing from local producers as much as they can. They are from the community, and they serve the community, and they know what the community needs. And they don't advertise it. So.
All right, thank you. 170, gentleman in the middle.
Galal Zaki, Professor of Practice, AUC. I just want to make a difference between philanthropy and CSR, one giving the fish, the other teaching someone how to fish. How many of our thousands of companies are practicing one or the other? Sustainability, it should be core part of your core business. A bank taking over a hospital versus a bank that makes money out of the triple bottom line like Mohammed of Grameen Bank, with 6 million people working, versus doing a hospital which is not part of your core business. Thank you.
Anyone want to comment on that? You want to comment on that? You agree? We all agree.
No, I fully agree, and I think that's one of the major issues that people kind of look at CSR as only donating money, and that's not at all the CSR program that anyone advocates for.
Okay, we all agree. 151. 151. Gentlemen.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here today. And basically, there's a comment. I think we all agree that there is more to do with corporate social responsibility. They have done a lot, but we need to do more. I think we agree to that. However, back to the budget point, we have to look into as well into what we call the total value chain. And there is a big part of the money paid on taxes by the successful companies that we have to take into consideration. If these companies were not successful, there wouldn't be taxes. So the question to the gentleman, how much taxes do you pay, or what's the percentage of taxes compared to your marketing budget every year?
How much taxes we pay, or how much taxes we would like to pay? As a percentage compared to the marketing budget? I don't have the figures right off the top of my hand, but I would like to stress the fact that Vodafone Egypt is the largest taxpayer in Egypt. So I believe that this should answer the question. We're the largest payer of taxes in Egypt, and we are not the largest advertiser in Egypt. We're among the top 5 advertisers, but we're not the largest advertiser.
All right, I'd like to add, is corporate social responsibility related expenditures tax deductible?
No.
Let's move to 37, please.
No, because we have a Vodafone Foundation, which is a separate entity. This is where the funding is coming from, part from the revenue of Vodafone Egypt, and part from Vodafone Foundation Group abroad. And this is set up as an NGO, and this is not tax deductible. This is different, separate fund.
But if I take away some of my profit and spend it, is this tax deductible or not?
There is a limitation by law to the amount of money that will get deducted, and it's very small.
If I work within this limitation, it's on the account of the tax
this would
department.
only apply to very, very small companies.
It's like very small amount.
Very small amount would apply to very, very small companies. Yes, but with a capping.
That's a lot.
With a capping, no. With a capping, not 7% of the absolute profit.
Okay.
You have a. If you want this question to be answered professionally, Mr. Hussein Gogari here can answer this question.
All right.
He's the tax man.
Let's move to 37, please. The gentleman or lady, number 37, please raise your. Oh, okay.
Do we have a clear quantitative indicators?
To whom are you directing your question?
Both.
Okay, the opposing side or the agreeing side?
Boss, whoever have the answer.
We have.
Do you have a clear quantitative indicators to evaluate the CSR performance? And if yes, do we have a benchmark for it?
Okay. Can you repeat the question again, please? Sorry.
Do we have a quantitative indicators to evaluate the CSR performance? And if yes, do we have a benchmark for it? Did the world develop indicators to evaluate the CSR?
Okay.
Yes, there are. And in fact, if you go and check the Western world, the hours per, like the hours for CSR right now or for any volunteering work is at roughly at $22. So there is quantitative, there are benchmarking. We rank very low, Egypt compared to the rest of the world. That's not only because of the CSR efforts, but actually because of the notion of volunteering to start with, which is actually start with the education system and how people learn that in school. So yes, there are, and actually many companies, in our companies, we do track that.
Actually, there is a sustainability index, there is a CSR ranking for the top performers in the world. There are global measures for that. And I think you raised the point that maybe something like that is needed for Egypt. Maybe we should do some kind of a report that shows how successful each corporate CSR program. This is an invitation to the consultants in the room.
Okay, thank you. Questions are piling up. We have about 15 questions and not enough time. So let's make the questions very short and to direct it to the subject you would like him to answer. So it's 184. 184.
My name is Amira. I'm directing my question to Hala. I believe that CSR should fall into the core of the business, and this is what we do at Barclays. However, CSR is currently focusing on the numbers, the outcomes, the outputs. How would you suggest that it focuses on the impacts? How would a corporation cover the underlying causes of poverty? How can it stop corruption? How can it change big systems?
You have to focus on numbers because you are a business, and this is, like Khaled said, this is the language that you speak, and the NGO sector has to respect that and has to work with that. How you are going to work to achieve or to fight the underlying causes of poverty and fight corruption and so on. First of all, you have to be willing to work with NGOs that may challenge your beliefs, that may challenge you to go away from the intermediate causes and focus on the underlying causes. And second, you have to forget about the tangible, what you can touch and what you can tell your shareholders that this is what we have done, this is what you are going to publish in the newspapers. You have to really work closely with the communities and make sure that they have ownership of the project, that they put the strategy, that they identify the problems, that they find the solutions for the problems that they have, that you don't just, what Ingy likes to say, parachute onto a community and say, this is what will be done. Those are just very few.
All right, number 54. Number 54. Gentleman right here.
I would like to define the debate a little bit. We're talking about impact in Egypt. So this for me rules out the base of the CSR pyramid. I mean, it rules out the legal and the economic. If I'm talking about impact, then I'm not talking about the corporate fear from a legal penalty. It even rules out a little bit of the ethical part because lots of the big corporates are doing ethical stuff because they are responsible back home for it legally as well.
Okay, so. Okay. طيب يعني question or you made a contribution يعني. Yeah, that's what happens when we stray away from the motion. The motion is, is the subject. Everything else, there are many other issues. That's right. That's right. Sure.
Actually, you should not move away from the base of the pyramid because you are a business and you should make profit. No one should deny you that. But there are so many models of how you can make profit and how you can be engaged with the community and really mobilize the community towards a better lifestyle. There are several examples in Egypt. One of them is a dairy company that is committed that a certain percentage of milk that goes into their yogurt production will come from the local community, even though they have the best and modern farm where they imported the cows from Europe and so on. But there was that determination that we can get 100% of our milk from our farm at the best quality, but we are going to work with the local farmers to make sure that we raise their awareness about hygiene and about health and about the quality of the milk. Of course, there is the other example also of the company that works in Muqattam with poor people in Muqattam to sort and recycle the plastic products and so on.
All right. It's piling up. If you don't mind, we just want to take at least 2 or 3 more. I think the pressure is becoming very much on the remaining time. 122. 122. Just a quick question on the subject and direct it to someone. Tell us who's directing it.
Directed to Hala.
Okay.
This is Basim Sherbini, Ruwa Group. You asked from a while for Coca and Pepsi or competitors to cooperate in CSR. Why we asked them to cooperate in CSR, not to compete, to increase the quality and the benefits for customers and community. Thank you.
Right?
Why we're asking them to cooperate in CSR, but not in what?
Yes. You asked them to cooperate in CSR. Why they cooperate? Why they didn't compete in CSR to increase the quality of CSR for communities?
Okay, so challenge each other to do better.
Yes, yes.
That is a valid comment. I think we all should challenge each other to do better in everything, especially when it comes to the rights of the poor. However, working together will yield better results, will yield deeper impact, which is really what we're looking for now in Egypt.
All right, thank you. Number 120, please. Number 120. Number 28. 5 minutes. Number 28.
Hello. Yeah.
Tafadali.
My name is Azza. I'm an AUC alum. I want to ask about the partnership between the government and the corporation and how rare it is to find that. Because I know about NGOs partnering with the government, but what about the corporation and the government? I think that would be the surgery that would nip many issues in the bud because, as stated before, the government has failed to solve many issues that corporations are now trying to solve. So I'd like to address this issue to the gentleman. Excuse me. Thank you.
So it's to the opponents.
Sure. First, what Hala mentioned as some examples right now is actually great to hear that I didn't even know about them. And I think that's the whole point that we're trying to debate here, that there is an impact, probably not enough, we all want more, but there is an impact, and it's very dangerous that we shut down the people with impact. So we should celebrate those. Now, to your point, to your question, I think there is a lot of cooperation between the government and the companies across the board, whether in law or whether in many of the programs that are being put together for CSR. That exists. However, we all need to know that we're operating with an efficient body. The government is not that efficient, so they move very slowly, and that's actually what makes you feel that there's not enough work being done between the companies and the government.
All right, thank you. 3 more questions, unfortunately. Then we're going to go to the voting, the second voting. But before the second voting, we're going to have final statements by the panelists. So it's 39, the lady there.
Ekne3ney from E-Methanex. Would you agree, this is a question to the ladies, would you agree that perhaps the cause of the lack of success or perceived lack of success of CSR is because there is no common understanding of what it means? Is it sustainability? Is it having a positive impact on the community? Or are we trying to take over the role of a government?
All right.
I think that maybe sometimes we don't ask ourselves what do we really need. I'm very curious to see how much is spent on research pre the intervention. I mean, do we really need more schools? Or do we need better curriculums and maybe buses to take children to school or a community school? The problem is that there is not enough research before it also. That's one of the things. And then the government, let's face it, for now, for the next few years, we have to rely, every sector has to rely on itself. So if the leaders in each of the sectors wants to change the rules of the game, they can change it. We definitely need a legal framework. We definitely need a tax structure that favors companies that build social responsibility into their core business. But
right.
We have to wait for that. So.
Okay, number 10, please. Number 10.
My question is to both sides. Dalia Barimi from the Social Contract Center. I just wanted to say that there are lots of work being done, and it's commendable, of course, with CSR. But I also believe that we're speaking different languages here. And I would just would like to say that appreciative inquiry is very important. Appreciative inquiry is very important. Ingy, you've mentioned lots of hybrid models, and Hala, you've mentioned a lot of good models. No one knows about this, by the way. And it's not just about celebrating the winners or celebrating the good examples. It's knowing the success and key factors of those. That's the most important thing.
All right. Are you clear on the question? One from each side of the aisle. So you agree? We agree? I think we agree. We'll move into number 62. The final question, please. 62 right here in front of you. تفضل. Yeah.
Mahmoud Ghanem, Kraft Foods. It's just, Egypt is a very big country. So of course the impact is not felt. There is an impact, but I believe if we joined together, the impact will be felt more. Meaning that many companies are working in the same CSR, but in a scattered way. So don't you believe that if we join together or join forces, the impact will be felt more? Thank you.
All right. So now it's, anyone want to comment on this question?
I completely agree with you. I think the togetherness is very important, and that includes the corporate sector, it includes the government, and it includes NGOs, and it includes the community as well. This is how we can really have sustainable results, and this is how we can have the deep impact that we are all seeking. And we also need to think of the duration of the projects that we're doing. We cannot just do a one-year project, because if you go back 5 years from now, what do you find? What do you find in the community where you put millions with a certain idea in your mind? So we have to think of the long-term commitment to a community, to a cause, to the sector.
I also agree that we should definitely join forces, and there has been several attempts to do that in the past. None of them was as successful as we wish it to be. We're hopeful that the new General Union of Non-Governmental Organizations that the government has established will deliver some good impact in getting the efforts together. The council has just been formed recently. We're full of hope that maybe through this council we'll be able to join hands and work together.
When both sides agree, that means that we fail to deliver impact as a debate initiative. So now we ask the final statement by the panelists on why they are for or against CSR failed to deliver impact in Egypt, and then after that we'll take a final vote. We'll start in inverse order. It's Ingy, then Ayman, then Hala, then Khaled. Please.
If I may change my statement, my wrapping up to saying where's the way forward? I think we definitely need to collaborate more across sectors and unify the language. We need to document successful case studies and go into the details, not just know the very famous case studies of hybrid models, but small businesses, local CSR, indigenous CSR versus Western CSR. We need to document that. And I think also there should be more transparency when companies talk about social responsibility, they need to also talk about how their value chain integrates small producers, how they integrate people marginalized from the labor market, and what's their environmental impact. And I think that one point, what I would like to see myself as a practitioner in this field, that we go beyond the ethical to the legal. I would like to see a legal framework specifically for the hybrid models, and the legal framework that encourages people to build CSR into their core business. Thank you.
All right, so it's Ayman, please.
I'm actually delighted that you said what you said, because I don't think this is about a win or lose debate. I think this is a yes and I would agree that we can do more impact, but I would still believe that the impact that have been done over the last few years is significant and significant enough. And I think we should be all working together on bringing those stories and celebrate them, not to the sense of celebrating a corporate achievement, but celebrate them to encourage more people to do more into the CSR. We have, as a nation, an issue that we've all raised with, that if you want to do something good, you want to do it, and you don't want anybody to know about it. And as a result, we don't encourage more people to do that. We have to get out of that. We have to celebrate more of the success, so we encourage more people to jump into that train and do more. And I invite actually everybody here that we do more of a society of CSR. And I think that's actually something that's missing, that we should be all focusing on.
All right, Hala?
I believe the corporate sector in Egypt has done a lot over the past few years and is aspiring to do more. The question remains, are they heading in the right direction? Are they working with other stakeholders? Are they considering the rights and responsibilities of their businesses, their customers, communities, and the environment? I believe that, yes, we have to show what we're doing, set an example. However, I always question the PR campaigns. Why are companies spending millions and millions of dollars on PR campaigns for their community work and for their causes? And really, how much is that compared to how much is going to the community and to the cause itself? Most of the time, it's just advertising about the brand. And then if you ask the people, a few months from now, what was the cause, they wouldn't remember. I would also like to say that I have a dream. I have a dream that companies will hold ethical and moral values at the highest regard, that they will think of community and national interests before profit, that they will work to strengthen civil society and alleviate the root causes of poverty, even and especially if those lead to addressing issues of governance, corruption, and social inequities. Today, I have a dream that companies will work together despite their differences, despite the competitiveness, because poverty has no ownership.
All right, thank you. And Khaled, finally?
I have to say it again. The Nobel Prize winner, the economist Milton Friedman, has once said that the business of business is business. So I believe that the definition of win-win is that we do something that is good for you and is good for me at the same time. So, and by the way, millions of dollars of PR is grossly exaggerated. I mean, we all have budgets that are getting smaller and smaller on communication, and anybody in the room who's working in the field will know that there is no such thing as millions of dollars on PR. What I wanted to say here is that the question of whether we're doing this because it's good for us, this would be the only reason we would do this. If it was not good for us, we would not do it. And the answer to the taxes question was easier during the PNG early days, because in the first 5 years of PNG, it was tax exempt. So there was no taxes. We were paying a lot of, we were investing a lot in corporate social responsibility, and the company wasn't paying taxes in the first place. If we consider that we failed in delivering impact in CSR, we wouldn't be doing it. So we do not consider that we failed in delivering impact. We believe in our programs. We believe in strengthening our programs. We believe in doing what we do best and doing it better and doing the right thing. And we invest in that. And otherwise, we wouldn't be doing it. The last point I wanted to leave you with is that if we couldn't wear the oxygen mask, we could not save the person next to us. So we need to succeed in order to be able to help the society. And finally, I was worried that I'd be in a CSR event without someone mentioning the fish and teaching them to fish. So this, thank you, Mr. Galal. Thank you.
All right. All right, thank you very much. I don't know what that meant, but anyway. So now I will mention for the final time that what we're talking about today and we're asking you to vote on is CSR, from what you heard, has failed to deliver impact in Egypt. And if you are opposing that, show me the red. If you are agreeing, show me that. And please, Ashraf, if you want to handle from now on. All right, so if you're opposing, raise your red card. Not red. No, يبقى خليها. Only the reds now, only the opposing. Yeah. Keep it, give me 30 seconds until they count, please. All right, when you vote against the motion, that means you are against that it failed. All right? Yeah, yeah. And when you vote for it, that means is that you think it failed. Are we ready? Finished? Okay, can I please ask those who agree with the motion to raise the white side, please, just to make sure. And give me 30 seconds until we count. And you can't vote twice. All right? And you can't do that. Some people are doing that. Finished? All right, I think within a matter of a few seconds, we'll see the result when we walked into this room, and then we'll see the result now, and you can find out which is the team that managed to pull the public opinion in their side. I'd like to ask you to continue to follow us on Facebook, Ekne3ney Shokran on Facebook. We intend soon to have many debates online. We'll ask you to contribute by voting and by commenting issues that will exceed or transcend business and economics into social matters that are very, very hard to get on TV, very aggressive topics, hopefully that you will find entertaining. Films that will be pre-shot with experts, 5 minutes only, and you can do that from your living rooms. So that should be interesting in the future. Thank you.
We are ready? Hopefully, okay? Would you show it? So before the debate, the majority was agreeing that there is a failure. After the debate, 10% changed their mind, and now 58% disagree that there is a failure. So the party who disagree wins this debate. So this is Khaled and Ayman, congratulations. So last thing, please allow me to thank the AmCham team, Ramiz and Ayman Shahata, for introducing the initiative to them, and also Tariq Mansour, the co-founder of Ekne3ney Shokran. Also, all AmCham team would like to thank you very much for all the support that you give to us. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Final thought is, I was one of the people who changed their minds, actually, during the debate. And the reason behind that is that around the globe, there is no one agreed definition of corporate social responsibility. I am one from the camp who believes that corporate social responsibility is about companies' ethical commitment and companies' ethical behaviors and companies' ethical choices. So reality is today what I have realized that it is time to understand that also in Egypt, the local context wants CSR to be about community service and about community contribution. So in this sense, I do believe that corporates did deliver an impact. They did contribute to the community, even if I consider that the impact is still very small and still not good enough. So I will, at the end of this debate, agree that corporates did have an impact, but I will, exactly like Hala, continue to dream that one day CSR in Egypt will be about making very hard ethical choices when we have the opportunity for more profit, to drop that profit and do the right thing. I will continue to dream that one day business ethics will be the name of the game in Egypt. And I will continue to dream that companies that do a lot of community work, their CEOs do not end up in jail for bribery issues. Thank you very much. I want to thank the Ekne3ney team, Ahmed, Ashraf, thank you very, very much. I want to reiterate thanking Ayman, he was the connection. Thank you very much. And I really want to thank the AmCham team who organized this with us. It was a very hectic event to organize with lots of changes. Thank you very, very much, AmCham team. Thank you.